Good afternoon. You're listening to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm your host, Jasmine Urbina, and I'm here in the studio with my dad and co-host, Alex Urbina. And today we are going to be talking about playing to win, playing not to lose, just playing, and not playing at all.
Yeah, and let's not forget to remind the listeners that this category is based on parenting. And, when you dive into the world of discovering how to be a better parent or more effective parent, you want to live in the assumption and operate out of the assumption that your commitment is that of a game. And when we're looking at playing a game, the intention to play a game in all sports or anything that you're up to when it comes to a game is to win. That's the goal of playing a game. And so I would hope that your parenting commitment for your kids is to win with your kids and to have them win. And so and some of the transformational trainings when it comes to team building and success, especially for parents, we do this exercise where we have parents really do some self-awareness and self-evaluate themselves and look at where's my commitment? Where does it lie at? Am I playing to win? Am I playing not to lose, just playing, or not playing at all? And it's a challenging thing to look at yourself and really categorize yourself in an honest way. And the reason why is because, I'm really compassionate towards all parents. I know that all parents love their kids. I know that all parents want their kids to win, but it just seems that, based on results, not all kids are winning. And if you really take an honest look at the parenting styles and the parenting ways and all the other behaviors that the parents have, there's some things that need to be fine-tuned and need to be adjusted to a higher level to be able to create those results for their kids.
I think in general, it's pretty challenging, like you said, to take responsibility and look at yourself and acknowledge what might be wrong or what could be better. I couldn't imagine, I'm not sure, and maybe you can explain what it's like to look at another person, so your kid, and have to take responsibility or have to acknowledge that that's your creation, that however they're being is a reflection upon you.
I can talk about my own personal experience, and in my early years, acknowledging that I was unconscious to a lower level at that point, I didn't really know, or no one taught me how to look at my kids' results and see it from the perspective of their results is a direct reflection of my results, of my parenting. I looked through the filters of being a victim, being victimized, meaning that I always blamed my kids or my coworkers or my boss or my wife or my friends. I always looked outwards and blamed other people for the reasons why either I'm not getting the results or the results aren't happening. And I was doing it unconsciously. I didn't realize that was the air that I was breathing. It wasn't until I had a profound awakening and started this conscious journey to really look at myself honestly and have some people, some coaches and mentors and some training to really have me look at how I operate in life, looking through those filters, and those filters don't support me in my growth. Being and operating out of the victim perspective only kept me more of being a victim, powerless. When you think of the word of being victim, not victimized like somebody attacking you or you're minding your own business and someone comes and out of the blue and takes advantage of you or whatever. I'm talking about the perspective, the lenses that which you look at your life. And so what I've noticed in the last 20 years working with parents is most parents operate from the complaining about their kids that she's not trusting, she's not opening up, he won't do this, she won't do that, and they're looking from the perspective of that they have no power, that they can't change it. Now what inspires me is when a parent raises their hand in a discussion and says, you know what, Alex, I can't or haven't figured out yet how to inspire my kids to want to help out around the house. I've yet figured out how to be a certain way that my son or daughter opens up to me. That's powerful. Those are powerful statements. But you can only make those statements when you're operating at a higher level of consciousness, really aware of your own personal power, and that you're willing to take responsibility or that you've either created these results or created the behaviors in your kids that are creating the results, or that you've co-created the results with your kids. That's what's powerful.
Yeah, and I think us going over all the different distinctions, playing to win, to lose, not playing at all, it's going to be kind of exciting, I think, if parents are willing to look at themselves and reflect and say, you know what, I'm this one, or I want to be this one. And I think it's easy. It's kind of easy to say, oh yeah, of course I'm playing to win. But unless you're honestly looking at it and you're really listening to the words that we're saying and trying to really honestly figure out which one you are, you can get a lot from this.
What's funny is that when I do different workshops, and specifically when I do this workshop that has to do with you looking at your personality style, I have people take a test and they have to rate themselves honestly about their personality styles. Like, are you a controller? Do you control? Are you stubborn? And it's funny because everyone, when they self-analyze themselves, they always give themselves a really high score. And I always have to preface it with, don't choose the ones that you would like to be or you think you are. Like, take a deep, honest look, and you have to really kind of settle with yourself and go, all right, I am stubborn, so I'm going to check that one off. No one likes to see themselves as stubborn. No one likes to really look at that stuff. So, as you're listening and you're trying to pre-qualify yourself from an honest place, that's where your breakthrough is going to happen. It's not living in the illusion that you would like to be this. And then there's always the part where I'll have parents evaluate themselves in different areas of ways of being that could really help their kids in their personal growth. And I'll have for example, have a parent rate themselves 0 to 10 when it comes to expressing your love to your kids. And they're either 9s or 10s. And then I'll say, rate yourself from 0 to 10 when it comes to vulnerability. Vulnerability, people for some reason seem to be really honest. They give themselves a low score. But when it comes to being compassionate, 9s and 10s. Caring for your kids, 9s and 10s. So they rate themselves overall really high. And then if I were to bring their kids in and ask them, hey, can you rate your parents 0 to 10 in all these categories? The numbers are going to be way off. And so then when the parents come back in and I have them look at the different scores, and then I ask the parents, what do you think the difference is? Why would you score yourself high, but your kids would score you very low? And there's a couple reasons. One is that we all are responsible for our own reality. We're experiencing our experiences, and then we're determining what's real to us or not. We're responsible for giving meaning to what we're experiencing. So what's happening is the kids aren't necessarily experiencing that love at a 10 that which you claim you're giving to your kids. So it doesn't matter all day long if you think you're a loving, caring, compassionate person and you're rating yourself 8s, 9s, and 10s all day long. What matters is how are people experiencing you? Like go around and take, if you really want to take yourself to the next level, go to the people that are really honest enough to give you a feedback and ask them, how do I show up as a parent? And be honest with me. Or how do I show up as, a spouse? Or how do I show up? And if you get people to be really honest, they will give you some golden nuggets for you really to have that aha moment and go, wow, I really need to up my game. But I think that in society, we kind of coddle each other and we pat each other on the back and we don't give real honest feedback. So I think this is important for you to listen and kind of evaluate yourself without leaning towards giving yourself the favor. Let's take a real honest look at yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like the parents that you're talking about, and I'm sure it's most people, it's kind of like that saying, we judge ourselves based on our intentions and we judge others based on their actions. And I think it's obviously very accurate. And I would actually love if we could do something like that in our family, because I feel like sometimes I, care a lot. I feel like I would give myself a 10 when it comes to caring about my family, but my brother and my sister might give me a 7 because I don't actually go out of my way to offer to take them to lunch or talk to them or see what's going on with them. And I think that's kind of a little bit unfair to them.
Well, I'm glad that you did that. It says a lot about your courage and willingness to get that feedback, because not everyone's open to get that. But it also says a lot about how other people perceive you. It's all subjective. Other people, the way they see you, they might have a love looking a certain way.
Right.
Where to you, it doesn't look like that. For you, love is, walking in and saying, hey, how's it going, Jazz? What are you up to today? And just spending like 5 minutes, just really deep, meaningful conversation. Where your brother, it might look like, you're inviting him somewhere. So we all have different love languages that if we made a conscious commitment to learning what their love language is, and we actually gave ourselves permission to be courageous enough to have conversations like this at dinner or a family sessions or meetings, or we would learn a lot about each other, and we would know what the other person is looking for. Like, how can I show up as a 10 to you? If I have no idea and I just think it's my idea, then I'm missing the mark every time, and then I'm wondering why I'm not creating the result that I really want with you. And I think that's important as a parent. You need to sit down and have a discussion with your kids and say, what does loving, compassionate, supportive, and being there for you 100%, what does that look like? Explain it to me. And I think that for some reason we as human beings don't give ourselves permission to go that deep with each other and open up those kinds of conversations.
Which is funny because when you think about it, what really is going to happen? They're either going to answer you or they're going to say, I don't know. And then you're going to have to ask them again in a week.
Well, probably 9 times out of 10, kids are going to say, I don't know, because they really don't know. And that's even feedback to you in itself as a parent. When your kids say, I don't know, there's some feedback there about opening up the question, a good possibility that maybe they don't know because I haven't taught them. Or maybe they don't know because I don't know. It really opens up this whole new world of, wow, my job as a parent is to teach my kids how to be emotionally intelligent. Not just intelligence, not just, hey, go to school and get good grades and study and absorb your brain with a lot of information. That's not good enough in today's world to be the full package. To be a well-rounded leader and be winning in all areas of your life, you have to be the full package, or at least close to the full package. And what I constantly hear is, parents that come to me and they're frustrated because they want me to work with their kids, and they're really frustrated because they're like, my son's he gets straight A's. He's a 4.2 student, or he's really highly intelligent. And my common response is, intelligence isn't good enough anymore. You have to develop some emotional intelligence. You got to develop a certain way of being about you that shows up big, that shines. You have to develop some inner confidence, some self-worth, some self-love, some assurance within yourself that you're not out there seeking fulfillment outside of you, because fulfillment doesn't exist outside of you. It starts from within. It can only be born and exist from within. And most people don't know that. Most people are one-dimensional, and they think that being successful is being really smart and getting good grades, getting a good business, making a lot of money, and they think that that's success.
Yeah, and going back a little bit to the kids not really knowing what love looks like to them or how they want to receive love, it might be a little bit about maybe they've never experienced it, and maybe to you think, as a parent, you think that, oh, I hug my kid all the time and I tell my kid I love them. And to them, it could look like you asking them how school went, or you asking them if they want to go do something with you and go to the park, take the dog for a walk. And because they've never experienced that, they don't know that that's what love looks like to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it opens up the possibility that in your hugs to your kids, there's a certain level of vulnerability. We'll call it 0 to 10, and maybe you're only hitting the mark at a 1. And your hugs they're not fully being embraced at a 10 because they're inauthentic. And I'm not saying that your hugs, that you don't really mean them, because I know in your heart you love your kids, and when you give them that hug, you're really giving them a 10. But because of some interpersonal stuff that maybe you haven't worked through, or you have your own fears and your own insecurities in the way, you might have some invisible walls that are up that keeps that powerful energy called love from really flowing through and going from my spirit and connecting to your spirit. And so maybe there's some blockage in there. There's a whole nother world of energy that we're not even tapping into, because we don't really discuss things like that.
Right. And it's like somewhere it gets lost in translation.
That's
because
right.
When it comes to love, I think we all speak a different language, and it's figuring out that person that you love, showing them love that they can see or that they can understand.
Yeah, you could grow up in a family where your parents always told you, I love you. And so when you become a parent, you're always looking at your kids and you're going, I love you, kid. Or, I really love you. I really appreciate you. And then that kid can only hear it and let it land only at a level 3 or level 4. Where the next door neighbors, they grew up never hearing I love you, and so they don't express the words I love you to their kids. But their parents were really vulnerable with them, and they cried and they shared deeply, and those parents don't have to say I love you. They can look over at their son or daughter and just have their walls down and be so vulnerable that their eye connection is so endearing that the kid just swells up with love, and they feel loved at a level 10. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a possibility that there's some magical ingredients in your way of being that you haven't accessed, don't know how to access, has never been taught how to access, or even that there is a magical ingredients that could be missing from your ability to be loving and have the loving land exactly the way you intend it to be landed.
So what you're saying is by being, sometimes I think parents or people think that expressing love has to do with doing things. You're saying it's about being, and that's how it's going to land. And when you're giving a 10, they're going to receive it as a 10 too.
Yeah, there's something happening about us as human beings. When we're born instinctively powerful beings, loving, caring, compassionate, vulnerable, sensitive, authentic, genuine. I can wrap up about 30 powerful ways of being. As we start to grow up, age 2, age 3, age 5, age 7, we slowly get away from the beingness and we become doers. And we transfer from human beings into human doings. And we think now as adults that the multiple steps of doing equates one level of being. And we forgot how to be human beings. And we don't know the essence of how powerful it is to be that for somebody. That's the magical ingredients I think that's missing in today's world, especially when it comes to parenting. In fact, it's actually the reason why I'm writing my next book called The Magical Ingredients for Successful Parenting. And it's all about the beingness. And I break down all those different distinctions. And I talk about the distinctions and how those different ways of being can really impact your kids. Because I'm seeing it in the training rooms for 20 years. Kids are sharing out of their mouth, cathartically crying because their spirit is yearning for something specific from their parents. And the parents have no idea. They have no clue that their kids are silently and quietly crying themselves to sleep at night in the room, wishing that their parents would open themselves up, or that they would be a certain way about them, that the kids felt safe enough, or they felt that they were respected or trusted. And that's what's missing in today's world, from my perspective. And we could talk a lot more about that a little later on.
Yeah, I know we got a little bit off topic, but I think really what we were getting at is what, like, playing to win and having all these different kind of tactics, I guess, like figuring out what kind of language your kid speaks when it comes to love, and figuring out communicating with them and seeing what it is that works for them and what doesn't work for them. That's playing to win, because now they're going to take it and they're going to learn how to create new relationships the same way. They're going to talk to, their husband or wife when they get older and figure out, hey, this is how I want to be loved. And so now their relationship is winning, and then they're going to do it with their kids. So I think ultimately it's kind of all in the same thing. So we'll get back to more, and we'll actually distinguish some of the differences of today's topic when we get back after the break. Stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.